What's going on at H2O Army? Justin at H2O Plants on Instagram. Today we're going to be talking about tank sizes and what's the perfect tank size that you should get for planted tanks or aquascapes. Okay, so if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any videos like this that we upload. But today, let's talk about what's the perfect tank size for you to get. Alright, so oftentimes people say get the biggest tank that you could get, that's what you should get. And I disagree, mainly because this 55 was the biggest tank that I could get at the time, and this tank absolutely sucks for planted tanks, I'll tell you why. So for those that don't know, a 55 gallon is 48 inches long by, I believe it's 12 inches back, front to back, and about 24 or 21 inches tall. Now, being as tall as it is really hard to light this effectively, especially for a high-tech tank or a high light tank, because you need a super powerful light fixture. This light fixture was about $350 to $400 to light all of these plants here, and these are rare stem plants that need and require high amounts of light, so that's why we have a powerful light here. So what size tanks should you get? Well, two things that you should base it off of. One, what's your budget? So if you don't have a super expensive budget and you only have maybe a couple $100s and you want to do a nice planted tank, definitely recommend a small tank, right? So the reason why you would want a tank like this is because, one, it's going to be a lot less expensive to light it, right? I could only do one of these lights and it would still be enough light to grow simple, basic plants in it. On top of that, you also have to consider substrate, right? This is sand substrate. This isn't a full planted tank, obviously, because we're keeping shell dwellers. They don't really do well with plants anyway. But if you were having a tank like this that has aqua soil in it, aqua soil is $40 a bag. Now, if you did a big tank, that would cost you hundreds of dollars to fill it up with aqua soil. Where in this tank, it only cost me really $20 because I only used half a bag in here. And I still have half the bag to use in another tank. Okay, so I know what some of you are saying. Well, my budget really doesn't matter. I have a couple $100s. You know, maybe I got 500 bucks. I'm going to do whatever tank I want within that reason. Well, then it really comes down to the fish you want to keep, right? If you have goldfish like this, you're going to need a big size tank because they need a big tank, right? You also are going to be very selective on what you could put in with them because you can't put everything in with them. Like this tank here, I couldn't possibly put a goldfish in here. He would destroy all the plants. There's just so much of plant matter in here, so many small-leaved plants. Goldfish would destroy this tank within a matter of days. Or say you want an angelfish, right? Angelfish need a really tall tank, top to bottom, because they're such a large fish. We'll get more into this guy at a later date, but you would need a decent-sized tank. This is a 40-gallon tank, and this is a good size for 1 or 2 angelfish. But you may need to go bigger for other ones. So really, choosing the size of your tank is really going to come down to the two things. What kind of fish you're going to keep in it, and what's your budget. You have a small budget, you want to go with a small tank, right? Choose some small fish or shrimp, like, you know, the blue bolt shrimps that I have. Maybe not them because they're kind of expensive, but red cherry shrimp you can find for a couple dollars each. Maybe small tetras or small rasboras also could work in a small tank and still have a beautiful aquascape. This is primarily directed at those that are more about aquascaping. If you want to aquascape, right, you want to go with a tank that you can do a really nice planted tank in. It's not so much about the fish as it is about the aquascape. The fish are just kind of a byproduct of the scape, right? A planted tank, which is a bit different than an aquascape, we'll maybe touch on that in a different video, but a planted tank is essentially a tank that you're putting plants in just to help the environment of the fish and make it more natural, and that is a little bit different than an aquascape. An aquascape is a little different than a planted tank. An aquascape is a detailed, manicured landscape underwater that you're primarily doing the tank to have a beautiful scape. So in that case, definitely can look at what your budget is, look at the kind of fish that you want to keep. If the fish don't matter as much and it's more about the plants, get a smaller tank. It's going to cost you a lot less money. It could fit anywhere really. You could put this in your house, in your dining room, your living room, in your kitchen, maybe even on a kitchen counter, depending on the size of the tank, and you'll be a lot happier in the long run. So don't always go for the bigger tank. I think that's a whole load of crap that fish stores tell you because you're going to have an easier time with. Planted tanks are different than regular just tanks with no plants in it, and they're different than a saltwater tank. People say they could have issues that will happen really quickly because it's a small volume of water. If you do your steps right and you let the tank set up, cycle, and then add fish, you'll be perfectly fine. Plants can survive in a tank when it's first set up or if it's been set up for months. So I don't believe that. That's not the way I do it. I start all these tanks, I fill them up right away, they're good to go. Just make sure you allow the cycle of the the bacteria to process, and you'll be good. Alright guys, but with that said, leave me a comment down below. What do you think? What's the perfect tank size for aquascaping? And I really like this light, by the way. I'm sorry, a little off note. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, share with your friends if they're trying to figure out what kind of tank size they should do, and I'll see you on the next one.